Now, us 21st century knife users have it so good because we have so many, not only knife designs and styles to choose from, but also materials versus our granddads from years past that maybe had a dozen designs to choose from and probably 2 or 3 blade materials. But what I tend to find happens a lot with modern tools is that they either focus a lot on like the overbuilt, indestructible survival knife capability like this Line Steel M7, which is a monster, but it lacks some precision and finesse. Or they hone in on the precision, carryability side of tools, making them very fine, very precise, but then they lack the ability to get bigger tasks done. And I believe there's a segment of knife design that I gravitate to a lot that I feel like has been overlooked in recent years, and I'm talking about the camp knife. And in today's video, not only going to talk about the concept of what a camp knife is, but we're going to use this GiantMouse GMF4 design as our template and unpack what all this has to offer and why it makes an excellent camp knife and whether or not camp knives are worth pursuing depending on how you use your tools. And make sure to stick around because I will be running it up against the Line Steel M7 in both concept and materials, as well as other well-known designs like the SE6 and the SRK, to see if this Danish designed, Italian made, has what it takes to accomplish those tasks you and I would do on our next camping trip. So thanks for joining me today. I'm Aaron, this is Gideon's Tactical. Let's dive on in. Now, for us to want to carry a knife, the design has got to be impressive. And there's just something about the designs that Vox and Anzo create over there at GiantMouse that just sing to my soul when it comes to my love of knives. And this profile is absolutely there. And then add to that the manufacturing that comes out of the Maniago, Italy factories, which is also where Line Steel is manufactured. I mean, the fit and finish is just like so well done in that aspect. And so when we look at a camp knife, we gotta think balance. And that's really what stands out to me right out of the gate. This blade, even though from handle to tip, it is 5.5, 5.6 inches, cutting edge is 5 inches, this weighs 8.1 ounces. As you see it right here. That is light for this size a tool, and it feels fantastic in the hand. For some perspective, the Becker BK2 is gonna be twice the weight, and at just over 12 ounces, the SE6 is significantly bulkier and just weightier in the hand. It doesn't have the nimbleness that this GMF4 is gonna have. For perspective, that's literally an extra pocket knife's worth of weight that the SE6 is gonna have in comparison to this tool, even though they're pretty close in size. But at that weight, you would assume then that it's gotta be pretty thin, lagging in durability, you know, maybe 5/32, maybe even an eighth. Not the case. At the micarta handle scales back here, we're looking at a thickness of 0.192, over 3/16 of an inch thick, and it holds that just about halfway through, then slowly tapers to a precise tip, which is able to pierce and penetrate extremely well. It's not blunt in any way, but still has enough robustness that I was able to do some lateral torquing and it didn't snap and break on me. Now, don't treat it like a screwdriver, but that durability and precision is an excellent balance. And that balance is brought in also with this extremely high flat grind. It's almost a full flat grind. You can see the transition all the way up there with a broad blade, excellent belly and sweep into that swedge clip point design that gives not only good aesthetics and piercing capability, but they rounded the back edge there so you can put your thumb all the way up until about the last inch of the blade and get good pressure for finer cutting, which means that the GiantMouse is going to easily outperform tools like my Cold Steel SRK that has about the same weight and same stock thickness in most camp applications because of the grind. This lower saber or flat grind is great for stabbing and lateral torque, but I wouldn't want to be prepping my camp meal and making a bundle of feather sticks. It wouldn't be my first choice for this SRK, where the GiantMouse easily is able to accomplish food prep, which I expect my camp knives to be able to do. That's what I'm gonna probably be doing maybe 30 to 40% of the time with a tool like this, is making meals around a campsite, as well as making bundles of feather sticks to help me go make a fire and doing other woodworking tasks. And this grind angle allows you to accomplish those very easily, better than lower flat grinds. And guys, it's a YouTube video, so you know what I'm gonna ask you to do. I'm gonna ask you to hit that like button, smash it, destroy it, helps the algorithm. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I invite you to subscribe, become part of the Gideon's Tactical crew here, and hit that bell icon so that you can be notified every week when I put up content just like this. So on the precision side of things, this tool is extremely well equipped, being able to do general utility of cordage cutting, other harder materials, but also easily accomplish the food prep as well as camp prep for a fire and just general utility around a campsite. The design really accelerates and accentuates those type of capabilities and was really designed and executed well. Now, before we get to durability and blade steel, you guys may have noticed this jacket, since we are talking about design and build quality. Well, this American-made flint and tinder unlined wax trucker jacket I scored through today's sponsor, which is HUCKBERRY. It's excellent to have HUCKBERRY as part of our affiliate network and a regular sponsor here at the channel, because they carry gear and equipment just like this jacket, which is built out of New Jersey sourced waxed 7-ounce sailcloth that is water resistant, breathable, and lightweight. As an example, I've been wearing this in July and it keeps the elements out and it keeps me cool. Right now when I'm filming this video, it's 76 degrees and I'm not breaking a sweat, making it perfect for adventures in the outdoors, a day at the job site, or a night out. And so guys, regardless if it's this jacket or other gear and equipment in general, I invite you to check out the link in the description below this video over to HUCKBERRY, and don't forget about my exclusive promo code, which can take 10% off your very first purchase. So check out the description below, check out what HUCKBERRY's got going on, and see all that they have to offer. Now, the steel that was chosen for this blade is a stainless steel, and it is N690 steel. Now, I've used that quite a bit at this point, and I really have come to appreciate not only its edge retention to durability ratio. Just as one example, I was batoning about a 3-inch diameter log and it had a lot of knots and twists in it, and I got some massive blade bending through the batoning process, had to actually back it out and then chisel off pieces, but it sprang right back into place, which is impressive for a stainless steel that's gonna perform very similar to your VG10s and 154 CM. So it sits in a good kind of middle of the road stainless steel arena and is going to hold a decent edge and isn't too difficult to get a good fine hair popping edge that this came with and that I was able to put back on without much difficulty with just some ceramic rod tuning and a little stropping. This type of steel. And what I end up finding is that for a camp knife, I kind of gravitate more to stainless steels because you are doing a lot of food prep, so you're not gonna have that carbon steel taste to whatever food you may be making if you're using a stainless steel like N690. Now, there's a lot to unpack with the handle ergonomics for a camp knife and for what this knife offers. Now, for a camp knife, you're gonna probably be using it quite a bit. It's not a bushcraft knife, so I'm okay with having certain cut-ins and different transitions versus just like a broom handle design on, say, like an SRK or, think of like a companion. So as long as I can have a very comfortable hammer grip and a reverse grip, I'm good to go. And this offers us a lot. We have here red micarta, canvas micarta. You can also get black. That will also, the black versions are either satin or stonewash. This version is the one that will have the coating on it. It doesn't need coating and it's wearing exceptionally well. It's like a smoke wash almost, but that is what the red will have. I love that red, it's so cool, kind of like a blood red almost. Now what we're gonna have is 4.75 inches overall handle length, maximum thickness with that palm swell of 0.82, so good thickness right there. Obviously full tank construction throughout, fills out my large size hands with plenty of real estate on the back end. Really well designed finger choil that I can choke up. Now, because the cutting edge is 5 inches and it's over 5 inches overall, I'm fine with the choil. When knives are like around 4 inches of cutting edge, in my opinion, it doesn't need a choil. So this is excellently executed, rounding all the way around, scalloped machining. Now, what's interesting, what you probably picked up on, is that the tang is crowned. Now, if it's done well, no problem. We've seen that with like the Mora Ashwood series that is not rounded. This is, and it's kind of got some sharp transitions. It's exactly the same, because again, I'm not sure if it's in the same factory, but it's definitely from the same city, so I believe so. You can see there, it matches, like this is an M5 from Lion Steel, that same kind of style there. It feels great, you don't even realize that it is there. And then we have on the back end a non-lethal kind of angled pommel, which would be more what I would see probably in like a tactical knife. For a camp knife, it would have been better to just have that exposed but flat for hammering in tent pegs. You can still do it, but you kind of ricochet off from time to time. So I don't know if it's trying to be this crossover tool, maybe a little bit, but a flat pommel exposed tang would have been better for a true camp knife. Now, as you're holding it here, again, feels great. You've got this kind of almost like sandpaper level texture of very light jimping on the back that my palm barely engages when I'm using a hammer grip, and even in a reverse grip. If I do that, I guess I get a little bit, but there's no, I think it's just more aesthetic. The 2 hits up here are perfectly placed. One, if you're not using the choil, engages perfectly. It just gives you a little bit to grab onto, but not sharp, and then choke up, and you get that second texture point right there. Now, what's interesting is it has 2 lanyard holes, not only up here, which we haven't seen in a while, near the guard, and one out back. Now, because of how lightweight it is, because it's not really designed for chopping, you can do some wood shaping and delimb stuff, like hack off some stuff about the thickness of your thumb, and it does that well because of the acceleration of the very high flat grind. I tend to just go with that pinky and just kind of do some wrist flicking, and it works fine. But what's cool, if you gut out some paracord, because then it makes it a little easier to run through like that, you can feed it through, and now it gives you a lot more power just because of the leverage to run your hand through, and then you can swing all day. The knife's never gonna come out of your hand. The connection point is up top, and you can still engage the choil and regular grip if necessary, all in one smooth motion. So that's a cool extra feature to have for those who think you're gonna maybe chop a little bit more than regular with this lightweight tool. Now, build quality and sheath material are super important in a camp knife because you're probably wearing it a lot. I find myself a lot of times with survival knives, I don't actually put them on my hip. I use them, carry the sheath around, throw it on the ground, maybe strap to my pack and then strap it back on, because I'm not using it continuously for hours on end in most scenarios. Whereas a camp knife, you are, and so I've found myself actually gravitating more to leather in recent years. Don't get me wrong, I still love my Kydex, but a good quality leather sheath is excellent on a camp knife, and this has that. It is handmade in Italy with excellent double stitch all the way through, 2 eyelets, top and bottom, so you could do paracord or a leather strap for a thigh lashing if you wanted to. Excellently large leather belt loop. I've carried this on my hip several times and it feels great. Then we have that GiantMouse embossing right there on the front, really well done. And then, do we have a drainage hole? We sure do, that's great. Now, what's really nice is that there's pretty decent tension on this, so if you did throw it in a pack, it's not just gonna go flying all over the place. And the guard is caught by that leather stop with that excellent strap, so that's really good. And I haven't even wet folded this thing. Then you can pop the snap, and it's pretty easy to remove it and pull out. Just be careful when you put it back, you don't nick that thing. Now we're gonna hit pricing and competitive options, and there's definitely some things to unpack here because not everything is perfect, and value would not be the strong suit of this tool. Now, GiantMouse hooked me up with this particular model so I could unpack it for you, show you pros, show you cons, help you decide for yourself whether or not a camp knife is actually the right tool or not for you. So I appreciate them hooking me up with this. I will have links to this tool as well as all the other models that we're about to look at in the links in the description below this video over to my affiliate networks. So if a design makes sense for you and it's time to pull the trigger, always appreciate when you use those hyperlinks. Now, the model you see here, that is $265 on average. That is a pretty penny. Even though the fit and finish is excellent, Italian made, Danish designed, that's steep for N690 steel. Now, if you go with the uncoated black micarta, black leather version, that will be $245. So a little bit more tolerable, but still pretty steep for an N690 European made tool. As our first example, since we've been talking about it a lot, here's the Lion Steel M7, very similar quality, fit, finish, Kydex sheath, Sleipner steel. Now Sleipner steel is a D2 family variant, which means it's going to hold its edge longer than the N690. So you're gonna have better edge retention, and you're gonna get an ambidextrous Kydex sheath, much larger, much more materials. That one's gonna come in, like last I checked, between like 200 and maybe 225. Right around in that price point for an Italian-made giant survival knife. Now again, not as precise, not as much precision, not as much finesse as a camp knife, but for pure material sake, cheaper with better quality steel. The SRK, if you get the Sami version made in Taiwan, that is probably very similar to, steel quality. That one goes for like $130. Now, made in Taiwan, just very simple design, polymer sheath, nowhere near like the aesthetics and build quality that goes into that. But just for size perspective, the SE6, the F4 is kind of like a shrunk down version of that a little bit. Now the N690 will hold its edge longer and will be rust resistant, and then the SE6, the SE6 1095, about 140, I think, last I checked with those contoured handle scales. Definitely a bigger, more survival knife type of tool. It's not a camp knife. So as I have used this tool, it's really interesting. Obviously, when we look at just strictly materials, it's not the best value on the market. It's obvious. An M7 is going to have arguably better steel, similar fit and finish, and perform in harder, huge tasks a lot better, but it's not going to be as precise. It wouldn't be my first choice, again, to make a meal around a campsite, and it's big and bulky, and I don't always take it with me because of just the size and weight. Whereas this tool, because of the quality of fit and finish and then the design features and characteristics that it offers in such a lightweight package, being large but excellent finesse, means that in many ways, if you like this tool, you're going to be purchasing it for its design capabilities, not so much for its material value. So that's obviously up for us to determine for ourselves whether or not which tool we would probably use and get more value out of. If you want a one-tool option, the M7. If you take a folding saw and an axe with you every time, this may make a lot more sense because you're doing finer work and you don't need to be impacting wood and material like a bigger, larger survival knife would do. And a camp knife is actually going to get more done for you in actual knife tasks like carving and cutting and food prep and those type of activities. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. What do you think about this tool now, having unpacked it, and camp knives in general? Are camp knives dead, or are there still huge value in taking them on our adventures? I look forward to reading all the comments, participating with you guys on the discussion. If, again, you haven't yet checked out the other video or subscribed, I invite you to do so. And always remember to stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.